Do you understand me, Kaz?
I think Soap's main thing is she heard from someone else and not from you. She would have preferred to have been in the loop no matter how much. Mum and Dad happy again?
Maybe.
Oh, thank fuck. I was sat here on the edge of my seat not knowing what to do, and now you're kissing and I still don't know what to do.
Hi guys, I'm so sorry I've been away for the past sort of just over 7 days, so I am still very behind with my reviews from Love Island All Stars. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of double up the episodes, that way I can get through them and be up to date by the time we get to tonight's episode. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island UK All Stars, Season 1, Episode 18 and Episode 19. The only one surprised at how childish the boys have been, in the sense that ever since Toby decided to recouple up with Georgia S, they've sort of isolated him. If not for Chris, none of the guys would be talking to him. And it's like, don't make it seem like, Georgia S was married to Callum. No, why didn't you all behave the same way when Chris did the same thing? Now suddenly, because it's Toby, everybody's aggrieved and they have to back up Callum and make sure Callum is okay. I don't like that. I think it's petty. I think it's childish, and I think I'm lost for words. Georgia S, I have no empathy for her. I have no empathy for her, given the fact that she put herself in this position. She knew she didn't like Callum that way, and yet she kept quiet and kept it moving. And then when Toby came back for her, she then dropped Callum. So I don't have any sympathy for her. The Islanders go to sleep, and in the morning there is a debrief. Obviously it's about Georgia and Callum, and just like, it's getting old, let's move on. You have Josh talking about his connection with Sophie and the fact that he's still interested in Joanna. Am I surprised? No, I think Josh is just as confused as the next one. And so everybody's very down in the villa, and it's like, why are we all sort of set at tearing someone down just because our little egos have been bruised? Toby coupled up with someone. He's not the first person to couple up with anyone. Other people in the villa on Love Island Stars have done worse, but suddenly, oh my God, let's put Toby's head, we want it on a spike, because how dare he pulled Georgia. If he hadn't had any conversations, if he hadn't sort of had any romantic attraction to her at first, then people should have been behaving the way they were behaving. Toby and Georgia S came in together, in my opinion, and so he's just picked up from where he left, and she has come along, which shows that whoever else she was pursuing, she really wasn't into them. She was into Toby and was waiting for Toby to come back for her, and so everybody else needs to come down. So the Islanders get ready for the All-Star PDA awards, and for me, okay, I guess, yeah, it's more or less like movie night. They just decided to be messy in this way. And so for the first one is the most comedic moment, and that went to Anton, and they gave it for him, his kiss and backflip, and it's like, I don't know, he thinks he's the man, he thinks he's it, because when he kissed Georgia H during the day, he ran to the boys and said, I've got the swag, and it's like, oh God, please, you really don't have it? You really don't have it? She's decided to settle with you because everybody else she's wanted has turned her down, and you're her only choice. That's why she's sticking to you, so please keep it moving. Oh my God, the more I see this, the more I despise Callum. I was indifferent to him, but the more I despise him and his little minions. You have Tom, Casey's always going to go where Tom is going, and you have Josh. The audacity for them to want to belittle Toby and to speak down to Toby doesn't make sense. His little boy ego is bruised because the girl he liked doesn't like him. And so he's more upset about Georgia S than he was about Molly moving on. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. Why is he so bothered about Georgia S and yet not bothered about Molly? Why? And, for the sneakiest, Islander, for Toby was right to say, she's asked you to say, let's talk about it later. Talk about it later. Why do you need to scream and shout across the pool? You're just doing it for attention, and you're just doing it because your little boy ego is bruised. As much as he thinks he's being the macho man, I think it's actually becoming worse and worse and worse. And the fact that everyone has so much vim for Toby but has no vim for Chris is well, I won't say what it is, but we all know what it is. This point, they might as well just call it "Let's Embarrass Georgia S Awards" because everything they show about her is embarrassing. And so they showed Chris when you asked for the 5 second look in your eyes. They showed Georgia H sort of flirting with Anton because that's the only person who can keep her in the villa anyway, because none of the other guys feel her that way. And then they showed Georgia S in the hideaway telling Callum, that he is the only guy she wants to be with in the hideaway. And she's sort of trying to explain herself. And it's like, oh my God. I don't get it. I don't get the fact that, Callum saw Molly and Chris kiss and had no vim, but suddenly he's got a lot of vim for Georgia S. I'm not saying what she did was right, but I'm not buying his anger. I think it's more exaggerated than it needs to be. Are the producers trying to break up Georgia and Toby then? Why would they continue to every award has to include either Georgia S or Toby, and I don't get it. And so Toby won for being the saltiest islander, and for me Toby's always going to be smooth, and Toby's always going to be very calm in whatever he does. So I appreciate him standing up there and apologizing to both Georgia S and Callum and saying, I said what I said and I have to stand in it. I'm not going to try and justify it. I'm not going to try and explain it any further. It is what it is. Let's keep it moving. Mad respect for Toby. A lot of respect for him for that. The Revelation Moment Award. I think it was good for people to see, but at the same time, I'm here for Sophie. Sophie really put Josh in his place because I think Josh is used to girls falling over his feet. And so the idea that someone would not be impressed and would be willing to move on is a surprise to him, I think, because she told him, you're not going to play games with me. You're not going to tell me one thing and then go and tell the other person something else. If that's the way you behave, then we need to keep it moving because I am not here for that nonsense. And for him to sort of say, oh, if you want to shut down, I had the opportunity. I like the fact that she told him stop and really gave him a piece of her mind and stood on her own 2 feet, 10 toes deep, and told him, we ain't doing this. We ain't going to play stupid games for stupid prizes. And so Georgia H won the award for her comments about Anton giving her the ick. And for her to say, oh, at the time he did, but now we've moved on. No, she's being strategic. She thinks that's the only way she can stay on the show if she stays with him. So let's keep it real. The Revelation Award was a bit surprising, really. Do I think Toby and Georgia S deserved it? I don't think so. I think the producers were just after being toxic and they decided to go after Georgia S and Toby. I'm not saying Georgia S was perfect, but the fact that they've continued to only show the negative bits for Georgia S and Toby as though everybody else has been innocent is what I don't understand. I don't get Callum's vim for Georgia S. Yes, his feelings are hurt, but there's no need for him to continue to go after her and go on attack mode. I think why he's upset is the fact that he let go of, his relationship or his connection with Molly, thinking he was upgrading to Georgia, and then only to realize that Georgia actually wasn't feeling him the same way is why his ego is bruised. And for Molly to break down and say she let go of her relationship for 3.5 years so that Georgia S could pursue her connection with Callum. I think this is why the two of them are upset. It's not the fact that Georgia S has gone back to Toby. It's the fact that Georgia S, yes, they gave her the opportunity, but she really wasn't feeling it. She was just doing what kept her safe in the villa. And now they've realized that they were both played. Their egos are bruised and they're going on attack mode. Molly storms off crying and is followed by Arabella, who's sort of consoling her. But personally, I feel like all this is as a result of them being upset by the fact that they both stepped away. She didn't force them to step away. They volunteered to step away. And now that they've realized that she really wasn't feeling him that way, they're both upset. And it's like, it's not worth the hassle, please. It really is not. But anyway, I know at times we want drama, but this is unnecessary drama. For Molly to sort of try and make it seem like she stepped away from her relationship with Callum. She said she was going to give Georgia S the opportunity to get to know Callum. So for her to now feel aggrieved that, Georgia S wasn't serious about Callum and she stepped away from a serious relationship, this, that, and the other, nobody begged her. She stepped away. Callum, I don't think, was ever interested in her in that sense. I think he cared about her because he had this history with her, but I don't think he cared enough to want to sort of rekindle his connection with her. And so blaming Georgia S, I think, is a cop-out. As much as I dislike what Georgia S has done, I don't think she is responsible for Callum and Molly calling it quits completely. I think Callum had already moved on, hence the 16 girls. And then you have, the boys sit by the fire pit with Callum sort of reaching this epiphany that Toby's not actually the one at fault and it's Georgia S. Yes, Georgia S is the one who's been exploring connections with every single person. She's explored with Tom, she's explored with Callum, and she's come back to Toby. Toby never pursued. Yeah, he did try with Molly, it didn't work out. He did try with Arabella, it didn't work out. And his comments about saying, if we were going to work, we should have worked on the outside. He said the same thing about Arabella. So I don't know why it's such a big deal now. And I'm here for Sophie, showing Josh the smoke and putting him in his place. I think he didn't expect that. And I think this is one thing that intrigues him about Sophie as well. The fact that she will not put up with any BS. She will stand on her own, and she's always going to hold his feet to the fire. So I think that's one of the reasons why he really likes her. And she made it known that if you want to pursue things with Joanna, then just keep it moving. I'm not going to sit here and sort of wait for you and beg you to be in a connection with me. He was trying to justify, but I was in a love triangle before. What? So are you not interested in Joanna and you're just pursuing her because you want to put me in a love triangle, or what is it? I don't get it. And then Arabella needs to move on. Chris said worse things to her. Chris did worse to her than Toby. And so for her to try and hold everybody else accountable and to try and hold Georgia S's feet to the fire, it's like, please sit down. You called him a little boy, so why are you so bothered by what a little boy did to you? You should move on. Is there no one else in the villa who likes you then? What is it? I don't get it. Sort of conversations after the PDA awards are very confusing. You have Chris having a conversation with Joanna and telling her that he enjoys their conversations and he still wants to get to know her. He doesn't see himself being interested in anyone, and it's like, well, all the girls in the villa liked you on day one, but then when you showed yourself, they all got the ick. So I would assume you'd only have Joanna anyway until she is fed up of you. She says she's still open and is open to getting to know other people, but she wants to continue with him. And it's like, I think Joanna, if there had not been that drama with Sophie and with Josh, she would have gone for Josh. But I think she's just decided to stay with Chris because she needs to be in a couple with someone, and that's it. But I don't see the romantic spark there. Georgia S pulls Callum for a chat, and what do I think? I think Callum's little boy ego is bruised. I think Callum thought he had upgraded from Molly. And so to find out that actually he is the one who was being played, he doesn't know what to do, because he could have easily come into the villa and tried to give things with Molly a go again, but he decided to move on. And in his attempt to move on, he was played. And it's like, you saw how upset Georgia S was when Toby said you wanted to explore a connection with other people. And that should have been enough for you to know that she's still stuck on Toby. But you thought you could get her and win her over Toby. And now your little boy ego is bruised because you've realized that, no, this is not it. She is still going to be with Toby regardless of what he says or what he does. The Islanders get ready for bed, and you have, Georgia S sort of talking about the fact that, she feels some type of way about everything and she's confused. And it's like, what are you confused about? I agree that she's using the word confused just to buy her time because she wants to be in a couple with someone and she doesn't want all the boys to turn away from her until she's got someone trapped. So that I agree with. But I in regards who she really likes, she knows who she likes. She's just playing them, but she knows who she likes. And for Arabella to be in bed saying, oh, this is going to end in tears, love, your connection with Toby ended in tears. Toby's not ready for a serious commitment. So don't make it seem like, he's ready for a serious commitment with you or with any girl in the villa. He's just there to have a great time and for now, and that's it. And besides, if he hadn't done what he had done, what other storyline would he get? He's got the most airtime just because of his situation with Georgia S and with Callum and everybody else. Otherwise, the producers were just keeping him in the background as a friend of, and most of the times he was being shown as Chris's friend, and that's what he was known for. So hey, let him get attention wherever he gets it. It is what it is. All the Islanders go to sleep, and in the morning there is a debrief, and more or less the gist, because it's the same thing that was discussed the night before. More or less the gist is everybody's still piling on Georgia S and how she treated Callum. But now they've sort of had a realization that Toby didn't just come out of the blue to sort of say he wants to couple up with him, with Georgia S. Georgia S was actually encouraging him. And so this is why he felt he had a chance with her. And so I think this is sort of eased the pressure of Toby, because all the guys were really on attack mode because they were saying how dare he disrespect Callum. But actually it was Georgia S. Georgia S on her part is telling, people that, oh, I am still confused the way Callum behaved. I can tell that he would never sort of hurt me, whereas Toby would hurt me. And it's like, so why did you go back to Toby then if you know for a fact that Callum is much better and more likely to be committed, whereas Toby's not yet at that stage that he's ready to commit to someone? This is your own fault. Molly is upset with Tom because she feels Tom lied to her and was actually lapping up whatever Georgia S was dishing out. So he is at fault for not being honest with her. He misunderstood it. He thought, oh, she doesn't like me because of my age. And it's like, it has nothing to do with your age. It's just a fact of, why were you eating up whatever Georgia S was selling? When she was saying that she's still attracted to you, why did you eat that up? And if you did, why didn't you run back to Molly and tell her? And so I like the fact that they're doing sort of mixed debriefings whereby boys can also hear things from the girl's point of view. So that I really like. Josh is trying to be big man on campus and is going to lose Sophie. Because Sophie doesn't appear to tolerate BS. I think Sophie is one of those girls that if you mess around, she's just going to move on. She's not going to hang around and wait for an explanation, which I love for her. And the fact that he decided to call Joanna to say, let's go up to the terrace, didn't make sense to me. And for him to say to her, follow me in a few minutes, he's being sneaky. That's because he's really not that into Joanna, and I don't know why she's entertaining him. If I were her, I would have moved on to the next person, because I don't want to be a dirty little secret. Really don't get the purpose of Joanna and Josh's conversation on the terrace, unless they were just after their Ekensu moment. Otherwise, there's nothing stand out, nothing interesting that I would say was the reason why the two of them decided to go up to the terrace. I think they're both just interested in spending time together, just having conversations, but I don't think there's anything romantic there. So I really don't get why they snuck up there, and then it took Chris sort of having to look for Joanna to give her breakfast, and then them having to sneak back out. And it's like, why would you want to be in a couple with someone who's not able to sort of pull you in front of everybody else and have a conversation with you? If he's trying to pretend like he's really not that into you, then maybe it's time for you to move on. But then I guess Joanna wants anything that will give her attention, so she's going to do that. The two Georges had a conversation, and I get where Georgia S is coming from to say that Arabella is just looking for someone to be angry with. And that makes sense, because Arabella was never in that serious a relationship or couple with Toby. So the idea that she's taking out all her vim on Georgia S doesn't make sense, unless she's doing it just because she wants a storyline and she wants the attention. Obviously, Georgia S acknowledges that Molly had a 3.5-year relationship. So there is justifiable reasons why she would be upset, and I get that as well. Yeah, it does make sense. Whether or not they split up before they came in, whether or not he had 16 girls, I think because she's had to sit there and watch them sort of have these conversations, make out and everything else, only to realize that it wasn't genuine, I think is why she's upset. Molly has a conversation with Tom. I really don't know whether Molly's decided that out of all the guys in the villa, Tom is it for her. I think if Callum were to do a Toby and go around the block and come back to her, she would take Callum, irregardless. Maybe the only reason why she wouldn't take Callum is because of the 16-girl history, but otherwise she would take Callum back. So she does, they do mend bridges with Tom, and they decide to continue. I think Tom knows he's punching above his weight, and this is why he's ecstatic, and he's going to keep quiet and do everything to make sure that he doesn't upset Molly. Molly, I don't know what she sees in Tom, because Tom is really very shallow. There's nothing there. There's nothing substantial for me to say this is the type of guy I would want to date. You then have Sophie and Josh have a conversation, and Sophie's right to say, I'm not going to kiss you until you close things off with Joanna. Sophie has standards, and she's not going to lower them just because some little boy wants, a moment of her time. So you could see that I think Josh is doing this for attention. I don't think he's feeling Joanna. I think he's just doing it as a way of sort of trying to put Sophie in a love triangle because she had him in a love triangle. That's the impression that I get. It's not because he has any genuine feelings. I don't think so. And then you have Georgia S and Molly go for a chat. So the islanders get ready for the night and they all go for their drinks, and Kaz says the toast. I really felt it was heartwarming and it was very sweet. I don't like this for Cass. I don't like that the only time we get to see her is when she's a friend of someone. We never see her having a conversation with anyone in any romantic sense. And I don't get from all the guys that have been on previous episodes of Love Island, you've got about 10 seasons down, they couldn't find any guy that would like someone like Cass that they could bring in. Make it make sense? They couldn't find anyone. So she's just there for display, just for her to be the token, islander, so that they don't say, oh, we discriminated and we didn't bring in anyone from any ethnic group. That's the impression that I'm getting, because why else bring her in, bring her ex in, and that's it, and nobody else that likes someone who looks like her, or nobody else that likes her as a person. I know someone said, oh, Casey dates black girls, but Casey, I think he coupled up with Kaz just because he wanted to revamp his image after the way he handled the Cynthia situation. I don't think he coupled up with her because he really liked her, because I know he told her that, he was friend zoning her. So I'm really not buying whatever nonsense he's selling. You have Tom and Josh have a conversation. Obviously, Josh is sort of worried about his connection, with Sophie, and he feels like there's nothing there with Joanna, so he's going to keep it moving. And so I don't know. I don't get it. You also have, Kaz having a conversation with Joanna, and Joanna is sort of saying she's giving 99% to Chris and only 1% to Josh. I think the reason why she's doing that is because she knows that Josh is way more in with Sophie than he is with her. I think if Josh had shown her that he's interested in a romantic, connection with her, she would have dumped Chris. I don't think she's feeling Chris the way she makes it up. And I have to give credit to Josh because he came and he sort of expressed himself and told her how he felt about, their situation, and that he had decided that, there wasn't anything romantic there, and he wanted to continue to put all his eggs in Sophie's basket, which makes sense because he's already agreed that he can see something with Sophie on the outside. So I really love that for her. The Molly and Georgia S conversation didn't make sense to me, in the sense that it came across more as if, Molly was just trying to sort of I don't know, just trying to look good in the viewer's eyes, because for her to say, I understand where you're coming from, I forgive you, and Georgia S is doing the same thing. She's doing the same thing. She knows she's in trouble with the viewers because of all the things she's done, and I think this is her chance to sort of rebuild her character by trying to appear apologetic in regards to everything she's done in the villa, and sort of trying to appear as though she's very caring and wanting to make changes. But I sadly am not buying it. I'm not buying whatever she's selling. I wish her all the best and hopefully it works out for her, but I'm not buying it. Okay, so after Josh has this conversation with Joanna, calling it off and saying he wants to continue with, with Sophie, he then sits with Sophie by the fire pit and tells her exactly where he stands and what he wants to do in regards their connection. And so they seem to be in a very good place. And yet Joanna is busy telling Kaz and Molly that she went up to the terrace with Josh, and Josh sort of expressed that he wanted to still get to know her. So she doesn't understand how he's gone from that to suddenly saying he's closed off and he only wants to focus on Sophie. And she's debating, telling Sophie, and it's like, that to me sounds like sour grapes. It seems like Joanna's feelings are hurt because the guy that she liked doesn't like her anymore, and this is why she's decided to be open about this. Because if she was looking out for Sophie, she had the whole day to tell Sophie. That this is what he's come back and told me. I feel like her ego was bruised when he said he's 100% all in with Sophie, and this is why, even though she saw that Sophie and Josh were in a great place, they were laughing and everyone in the villa could see they were in a good place, and she still insisted, because Molly asked her, and even Kaz, that, so what are you going to do with this information that you're giving us? And she said, I'm 50-50. And yet, as soon as Sophie came, she pulled her for a chat. Knowing that Sophie feels some type of way about people lying to her or being shady or messy. And so for her to tell her this didn't make sense, in my opinion. I think she just did it just to sort of come in between Sophie and Josh. I'm not saying Josh is the best person in the villa, but I don't get the the idea or the rationale behind telling, Sophie what was said. And Sophie was right to be upset that how can he make 3 different decisions in 24 hours? How can you go from wanting to know someone then to wanting to sort of break things off with them and then wanting to come back to me? Which one is it? Are you interested in me? Are you just coming to me because you don't really feel that way about Joanna, or what is it? So you could tell even the guys realized that Sophie went from being happy to being sad. And I don't know why Joanna didn't allow Sophie time to just settle in her happiness before she brought this mess up. That didn't make sense. And then you have Callum pull Molly for a chat, and it's like, oh my God, what's going on here? So it's actually sweet to watch Molly and Callum have a conversation and to hear how they're in a better place than when they first walked into the villa. They never expected to be friends, and now they're friends. They're happy that they're both on their quest to find love. It seems Callum is really supportive of Molly and Tom. I don't get why Tom, because I don't see anything special about Tom. So it's good that, they both acknowledge that Georgia S didn't handle the situation very well. I think Callum is now at a point whereby he's ready to move on. He doesn't want to be involved in a love triangle. And so I'm happy for that. You have Callum have a conversation with, Anton, and they both agree that Toby will lose interest more or less in any time once a bombshell comes in. And so Georgia S is going to be stuck in the same situation that she was in, whereby she's got no one because both guys have moved on. Josh, well, he was called. I like the fact that Kaz was there as their mediator to sort of mediate between him and Sophie, and they were able to sort of she was able to explain to Josh what he couldn't understand, because he didn't understand the big deal. He thought it was sour grapes, the fact that Joanna had gone ahead and sort of explained or told, Sophie what had taken place. I still feel it was done with malicious intent. I don't think it was just out of the kindness of her heart, because she should have done that first thing in the morning. You then have the 3 bombshells come in, and what do I think? I think the producers knew that they were bringing cars for decoration, because that guy doesn't seem interested. In the clip from tomorrow, he seems to be going after Molly. So they've brought every single person that they could think of that would want Molly, and other islanders have just got to sit there and just watch. For what reason? I do not know. I don't know this because maybe Molly and Callum were willing to play a game, where someone like Az wasn't willing to create drama with Tyler just for the purpose of the show. So I think this is why they've decided to just keep her there for decoration until they're ready to kick her and send to the curb and send her home, which I don't like. Anyway, it was a great episode. I really enjoyed watching both episodes. I can't wait to move on to the next one. Thanks guys for watching. As always, please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and click on the link on my video to watch my review from episode 17. Bye guys.